All right, here we are. And this time I am using actual just YouTube. And let me see. I'm having a hard time figuring out like which camera and everything it's actually using. You know, I've got two cameras set up, so it's like, am I on the 11p one? James Lowry, hello, how are you, my friend? Am I using my Yeti microphone? I don't know, and it doesn't really. The mute. See, the button just says mute. It doesn't actually. Yeah, I don't know. I like the layout though because there's like nothing in the layout, so I like that. And for those of you, yes, I'm painting, and I'm going to sit here and paint and talk a bunch of stuff. Hello, Jose. How are you? We're on YouTube. I wonder if you can invite people on YouTube. Engage with audience. End stream, share screen. No, it doesn't look like I can invite anybody. That sucks. Because, you know, I like to invite people on. But yeah, this is the actual built-in YouTube live stream thing. So if you ever, like, for any reason, feel like you want to do a live stream, even if you don't own a, you know, a program, as long as you've got a computer with a camera and a mic on it, you can get out there and do your thing. So what I am getting ready to do is I'm using some German camouflage orange ochre color from Vallejo, because even though I do buy other types of paint, at the end of the day, I end up buying Vallejo more than anything else. I don't know if it's because it's so ubiquitous to everywhere. Like if I go to the Hobby Lobby, they've got a big shelf of model kits in Vallejo paint. So, you know, it's just the most common paint. And I am painting the deck of my schooner. And of course, I'm going to make some mistakes. I'm going to have to, you know, go back and fix them. But so the deck of the schooner is actually going to be this lighter color. Actually, Jose, after I got off with you guys the other day, I went in and was talking to my wife about it and fell asleep in my chair. So the answer to that is no. I instead pulled a grandpa move and just was sitting there in the chair talking to her and drifted off to dreamland. So, yeah. Now, why a lot of ships had this yellowish, lighter color deck, I can only assume it's because they must have used a different kind of lumber to make the decks. Like maybe the sides of the ship are made out of like hardwood, oak or something like that, but the decks are made out of, you know, I don't know, oak will polish up like this. So I don't know, but so far this sweetie pie is painted up in British colors. And it turns out if you go to the website and type in cells for the schooner, you can print out the actual cells for the schooner, which is pretty handy. You know what I mean? You can just print them out and cut them out in paper, and then attach them to the masts. And if you want to get really hardcore, they give you elastic string so that you can do the rigging in the ship. And I'm assuming the reason they give you elastic is Master and Commander. Yes, I love that movie. Even though, Jose, I don't know if you know this or not, you probably do. The ship that the British are chasing, the French ship, is actually not a French ship at all. It was the USS Constitution. But for whatever reason, movie-going purposes or whatever, they didn't want the show to be about the British versus the English. So they lied about who built the ship. Kinda. There's the one guy who played the Hobbit who says, when I was in, Massachusetts or something, I saw the Americans building a ship like this, and I helped work on it, right? So they're admitting that no, that is an American frigate, and they're just claiming that the French must have bought it from America. But great movie, regardless. Regardless, it was a good movie. But yeah, the ship in Master and Commander, the supposed bad guy ship, let's say, was actually the USS Constitution. Old Ironsides, they call her, because this is a historic fact, the British generally use lighter cannon, and Old Ironsides was made 100% out of hardwood. And then on top of being made 100% out of hardwood, we're talking like oak, hickory, stuff that's not whatever. It was cross braced like crazy underneath the hull. And the first time the British ships had to deal with that thing, their cannonballs would literally bounce off of it. And that's how it got the nickname Ironsides. Because, yeah, the British would fire a volley at that thing, cannonballs would hit the hull and just bounce right into the, meanwhile, the Americans at that time, we were typically using slightly bigger guns than the British. And that kind of made Old Ironsides a nightmare for anything in the same, weight class. Because it's like, yep, your cannons can't hurt me, and my cannons can hurt you really bad. Also, if you don't know this, since we're talking a little history while I'm painting this ship, Old Ironsides is still in service. The USS Constitution is still an active service naval vessel. And if you join the Navy, and I don't know what you got to do, be a badass, I'm assuming, you could actually get assigned to the Constitution, which we keep, had to take the upper deck off, which the United States Navy keeps in perfect condition as it was back in, 17 whatever, 18 whatever, whenever it was. They keep that bad boy, which means that every year or every 5 or 6 years, they're replacing all the rigging and, all that stuff. And if you're an archaeologist or like a professor of that, the Navy a lot of times will let you come on board the ship to check it out and everything. Because I mean, it is basically a living museum. You know, when you go on the Constitution, you are literally stepping back into 1800s American shipbuilding. Uh, because originally America tried to go cheap building their ships, and they built a lot of them out of pine. And the problem with pine wood is when a cannon hits it, the pine basically turns into a fragmentation grenade, just explodes all over the place. And a lot of sailors on those American ships were, more of them were killed by the pine wood, just, ripping ass all over the place than, actually getting shot. Crafting Gamer, how you doing, bro? Yeah. I mean, the U.S. Constitution, I mean, if you're an American and you watch the whole history of the USS Constitution and it doesn't make you feel kind of like warm and the cockles way down in your heart, I don't know, man. Maybe you're not really an American. Because, I mean, the story of that ship and everything about it, and the fact that we still keep it going, and I mean, but anyway, getting back to what we we're talking about, yeah, the ship that the French supposedly had in Master and Commander was in fact the USS Constitution. The French at no time ever built a frigate like that. I'm sure they wish they could have, but they didn't. So, whatever, right? And then later on, even though I don't know if we've got any of them still functioning, the Americans basically stopped using frigates and brigandines and things of that nature, and went whole hog into like schooners with lateen sails, because they can travel against the wind way better than um, you know the other ships. So, and that's the kind of ships we would have been using when Thomas Jefferson declared war on the Barbary pirates. He sent the U.S. Navy over, and we defeated the Barbary pirates, and then landed Marines in what is currently Libya, and put a beating on them, and told them to stop stealing our people. Because, people talk about slavery, but for the longest time, right, the Barbary pirates would attack European merchant vessels, or actually any European vessel, including American. I'm including American in that, even though not European, but and they would enslave the crew. The crew would be sold into slavery. So, yeah, you could be as white, lily white as I am, and that did not prevent you from becoming a slave. If the Barbary pirates caught you, your ass was, you were a slave. And you don't even want to imagine if it was like, a ship with like passengers on it. If you were a female on that ship, yeah, you were screwed basically. I mean, I guess literally, but yeah, 100%. It was not going to be a good time for you. And, and that's not to mention, I love arguing with people who are, ignorant about like slavery and shit, because it's like there's a whole group of people out there that seem to think that the British Empire invented slavery, which couldn't be any further from the truth. Um, I mean, the Turks were raiding Europe for centuries, um, to steal women and slaves and whatnot. I have the Bellet miniature from Conan. The Monolith Games, if you buy the basic box set for Conan, it gives you Bellet, Conan, one of Conan's friends, a wizard that is one of Conan's friends, and then it gives you like 10 Pictish warriors, a Pictish witch doctor, Zingaran pirates, like some wolves or whatever. Because it's kind of like, if you've ever played Hero Quest, it's like a much more involved Hero Quest, is what it is. You know, it's just a much, because your character has so many, you know, will and might. And, you know, if you want to do something, you have to spend, um, you have little blue and red crystals on your character sheet, basically, or your character, uh, whatever you would call it. And in order to do certain things, you have to spend certain amounts of the crystals. So, uh, yeah. So they have like one really awesome map I've got around here somewhere. And it's like two ships side by side. Uh, because it would have been like, you know, you could like do a battle between the two ships, you know, like Conan and friends versus Zingaran pirates. And then they released another expansion, which I got and I like, but I wish I had gotten another one, which they're going to redo them all. So I'll get my chance. But they released the northern expansion, and that added new heroes you could play, but also a bunch of new monsters like frost giants and slavers and stuff like that. So there we go. Got my. So yeah, I don't know how much it would probably cost an arm and like 3 legs to get that game to where you are, but I ended up buying 3 copies of the core game because I wanted to be able to build a Oathmark army of Picts, which I can now. I have enough Pictish warriors, archers, witch hunters, etc., or witch doctors, etc., that I can build an army for Oathmark. Hey, what's up, Leth? How you doing, bro? Leth, unfortunately, I can't invite you on. I really wish I could, but I don't know. And I'm using just the YouTube live stream, so I don't even know what camera or microphone is being used because I don't know how to even check. But so far, it's not bad. So now the next thing that's going to happen, and you'll notice that front mast isn't painted. That's not by design. I just ended up doing the mast last, so I'm going to have to paint them. But all of the trim on this ship is going to be painted like a golden wood color. And then, you know, you see how I've added the red detail to it. But yeah, basically all of the, so there'll be this dull yellow. And then, you know, paint the hatches that lead down into the hold and call it a day. This is the mast, which will go into this hole right here. And there you go. There's your mast. Let me show you, actually. There's your mast, like that. So it's going to have a really big cell in the back. It's going to have a cell on the top, and then it's going to have 2 different cells this way. Damn it. So, yeah. It's going to be a whole thing. And there's an option for putting another cross beam up on the top and putting like a square cell up there. Got Epona in Kingdom Come Deliverance. I don't think I've ever played that game. So I don't think I can really, I don't know that I understand or can truly appreciate whatever that means. But if it's a good thing, I'm glad you did it. Let me see something here. This might be the best or the worst thing I've ever done. Let's see if I can do it. I couldn't do it last time. I may be able to do it this time while I'm waiting for this paint to dry. Which is half of painting, is really just waiting for the paint to freaking dry. Okay. Okay, so we can go ahead and close desktop. Go to live stream. You guys can hear music. Hopefully it's not too full of echoes and everything. Now let's see. There's supposed to be a way to share screen. A window maybe? Nope, the window ain't working. The screen ain't working. Microsoft Edge tab. Is that it? Nope. So why is it not letting me share the screen? What is up with that? I mean, it says that's it, but... Oh, okay. And there I am down there. So I was watching Asmongold, and this game was making him basically lose his mind. And I was like, I think I can beat that game. Well, guess what? No. This is the hardest game I've ever played, if you can even call it a game. Because it's like some weird Korean thing where you're a Korean dude and you're running a boarding house, and all these cute Korean girls are in your boarding house. And I don't know if you're trying to date them or whatever the hell's going on. Korean culture is not my thing. And then you don't actually play a game. It's just like every now and then it asks you a multiple choice question. And then you answer the multiple choice question the best you can. And then it tells you you're an idiot. And that's basically how the whole game goes. And then at the end of each chapter, and there are tons of chapters to this game, it lets you know whether you did enough of the right things, the answers or whatever, to... I hear my phone dinging, but I wish I knew where it was. It's on the desk somewhere, I thought, but I'm not sure. But then, yeah, you got to earn so much of their affection or something. And then if you don't, then you can't go on to the next chapter. So I've been on the first couple chapters for like a couple hours because I'm all like, and I'm starting to blame shit. I'm starting to be all like, well, it's because I'm not Korean. Obviously, if I was Korean, I would know what the hell to say to these weird chicks. And believe me, some of the answers are really weird. Like there's one where you're in a coffee shop talking to a friend, a female friend, and her manager walks up and starts talking all this shit, and you got the option to give him a kiss. And if you give him a kiss, then it opens up this alternate thing where not only are you like doing stuff for the girls, but you've got this guy that's wanting to hook up too. Right? So I was playing it, and my wife, of course, made fun of me. She's like, that's kind of creepy, whatever, noob. And, you know, made me feel bad about it. And I was like, damn, am I being a weirdo by playing this game? I mean, am I the weird guy? Now she plays it because that's just the way it is. And apparently I looked it up, and in Korea and Japan, these games are mostly played by women. So, oh, you've played this game, Leth? Because when you're in the internet cafe, the boss comes out, and first he wants you to work for him. Because he's like, why are you in a suit? And you're all like, well, I'm going for a job application. And he's like, why do you keep doing that? Why don't you just come work for me? I'll pay you really well. And then he starts talking shit to your female friend. And you're all like, you get the options to do like, to try to hit him, which don't work because this dude's like, I guess a kung fu master or some shit. Or you can kiss him, or you can like be cowardly little bitch. Also, bear in mind that the male character in this game has zero riz at all. It's like he is like the worst. Like, you know how we get made fun of a lot of times as gamers for being like pathetic nerds? Well, the main character in this game is a pathetic nerd. For a fact, he's just like the worst. And it's just like, you know, something will happen and he'll do whatever he does. And I'm just sitting there like, what in the hell is wrong with this guy? Right? Is he having a seizure or something? I mean, of course, see, I'm that goofball that when the one girl, that one in Bay, she comes back from America. She was in college in America. And she's like, I'm back. And you're all like, awesome, you know, because you were childhood friends or something. And she's like, I came back to marry you. Remember when we were young that we said we made a promise we'd get married, right? And you're like, yeah. But of course, the character you're playing is an idiot. And he like, you know, acts like an idiot, whereas maybe I'm an asshole or something over here. But when Mbe come back and was like, I'm here to marry you, I'd been like, awesome, let's get married. And that would be the end of the game, though. Because, I mean, she's cute. And the main character of the game is the biggest loser, like, ever. Like, seriously, it's like this guy is so stupid. She's the sister. Yes. See, Leth knows all this shit, right? And I'm sitting here like playing this game and just getting my ass whipped nonstop. You know, get to the end of the chapter and it shows you like the affection thing, and I got like barely any. And I'm just like, the hell am I doing wrong here? You know, it's like in real life, I've never had problems picking up a woman. In this freaking game, your character is an absolute moron. It's like he don't know what to do ever at any time. How you doing, Squirrel Hermit? James would play. You know what? I probably will never get another game like this again. Honestly, I picked it up because, like I said, I'm going to blame freaking Asmongold. Asmongold was playing it, and I thought And he was complaining about how hard it was. And I thought, you know what? I bet you I can beat that game. So, it was cheap. I picked it up. And then I immediately went to just getting my ass whipped nonstop, you know? And it's like, the boss lady, so far, the one I've had the most luck trying to like get to love me is the meanest one, the boss lady. And I don't know what an FMV is. I'm a total noob at this shit. Like I said, I was watching Asmongold, the guy they're trying to blame on killing Dragon whatever Velgard. Because I watch Asmongold's videos. I don't know. Maybe he's got just the right amount of autism for me, so I like his stuff. And yeah, it's like there's these 5 girls, and one of them I think is mentally slow, and one of them's got gigantic boobas, but she's mean as shit. And then that short-haired one, she's like super sweet all the time, just wanting to be all over you, right? And that one's really shy, and it gives you these like options of things to do, and they all suck. Yeah, these are like it's like an interactive movie because it does. I mean, they do walk around and do stuff, and so it's not like you're just looking at pictures or something. There's actual movement going on, but the problem is you really don't get to control very much. And then sometimes it'll give you a choice, but it'll be on a timer. So it's like you got to make the choice really quick, and the choice could be wrong, and then you might make one of the girls actually dislike you, because if you do something and you see like hearts going up off of the face of one of the girls, it means they liked whatever you did. If you see purple hearts going down, it means they didn't like what you did. And it's like, no, I'm not getting into these weird games, Deckard. This shit is weird for me. Like I told you, I like, but I was playing it last night and bitching my head off about it. My wife was all like, "Are you playing that game?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, what's going on?" And so I turned the computer so she could see the screen. And I was like, "What would you do?" And she started, helping me guess things. And the thought was, since she's a woman, she might have insight into the things, to do, right? But we still, well, I did better with her helping me than I did alone. But yeah, it was still like, what is going on? The fuck am I watching? Mail order brides? Probably could be. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, apparently Korean women are like super pissed off because they have to work too much and they never get to, get married and have families and stuff. That's where the 4B movement actually came from, that the weirdos that hate Trump are doing. The real 4B movement started in Korea as a protest from Korean women because they were upset that they have to work such long hours and never get to the opportunity to marry or have families. And so they're all like, until the management and whatever changes the rules, we're just not going to do anything, right? But it's really weird. There's like one scene where you can tell a girl like how good her farts smell or something. And I'm just sitting there like, is that really a Korean thing? Like a guy would walk up and be like, I like the smell of your farts. Because if that's really a Korean thing, they are nasty. That's nasty. I did learn that the one with the big boobies that's really standoffish, her favorite food is, I guess, pizza. So anytime when you're talking about buying food for one of them, if it's her, you always buy pizza. That one. You always buy pizza. And apparently she's like a super career woman who's never had time for boyfriends and blah, 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 blah. I mean, and I'm basically telling you like the first 2 chapters because I can't get past the first 2 chapters because I keep being a loser. And the make believe Korean girls are like, yeah, you're a loser. We wouldn't date you. And I'm like, damn, that's not cool, but that's what the game says. DM James is a loser. On chapter 4, trying to get to chapter 5, well, that's twice as far as I've got. Nothing wins over Battle Cruiser 3000 AD. Never heard of it. Yeah, it's like Korean stuff. There's like one scene where like something good happens, so they all want to drink beer. So they have a big party, and then, it's just like 5 minutes of watching the Korean girls drinking beer and getting hammered. And I'll tell you, I have learned that from this game. Apparently, Korean girls really like to get hammered because that's like half the game is these chicks wanting to get drunk. Now, the game I've been playing more than any other game is like the Mars settler game or whatever, where you get X amount of money and X amount of equipment, and you go to Mars and you try to make a self-sustaining colony. And that's the kind of games I typically play. The slower, more like strategy-based games. This game is difficult. There's some difficulty here. Yeah. It's so weird that it's got share screen. It's like weird. You should get Kingdom Come Deliverance. I should look up what Kingdom Come Deliverance is. You know what I should do since I'm in the mood for it? Is I should re-download Sid Meier's Pirates since I own it already and stream myself playing Sid Meier's Pirates. Speaking of Bruce, I haven't painted the masts yet, but my sloop is coming right along. See, I painted the deck, and I'm going to paint all the rails and everything coming right along. So, and the next will be to paint the crew. Right now, I'm using a dark silver color to paint the barrels on the cannons. And with the wooden carriage and the dark silver, it looks good. It looks really good. Kingdom Come Deliverance is awesome. Okay. I might have to. So anyway, yes, that is a thing. And it is like, I have to admit, maybe the most difficult video game I've ever played in my entire life. It is so frustrating, because it's just like why? Why is this a thing? How is this possible? It's like, you know, it's like I have no doubt that the character in the game, if they replace that character with younger unmarried me, I would hook up with one of those Korean chicks super easy. But the guy you play in the game is such a freaking dweeb. He's just like useless, basically. Just completely freaking useless. And you got to deal with his uselessness. Like that dude, the dude in the game is freaking like super obsessed with a girl band, a K-pop Korean girl band. And I'm just sitting here like, what the hell is wrong with you, man? Like, grow the hell up, you know? That's just weird, But that's his thing. He's obsessed with some stupid girl band, and he's a complete loser, basically. But apparently, that's the whole part of the thing, is that the male character has to kind of be a complete loser. First, I guess if you're a dude playing the game and you're a complete loser, if you manage to seduce one of the chicks or something, then it's supposed to make you feel better about okay, well, the Bangles were like a cool band. I mean, like a K-pop band. And K-pop has never put anything out worth listening to. And I stand by that. It is absolutely the worst. The only thing worse than K-pop is K-pop fans. They're absolutely terrible human beings, Especially the hardcore ones that spend tens of thousands of dollars to make themselves look Korean, even though they were British. Yeah, that's a true story. Look it up. And I'm just like, is this a cult? Is this what being in a cult is? Baby metal. I was watching a guy and he's like, what the metal you listen to says about you. And when it got to baby metal, it said you probably should be on a list. Yeah, and then when it said Iron Maiden, it was like, you play D&D. Like, yeah, true. That's true. I can't deny it. But Maiden is my thing. Yeah, no, I can't do it. I'm sorry. The only Asian song that I've ever played on my channel ever is the one from the movie Nanking, where the Japanese are doing their victory march down the center of the street. That's it. That's the only Asian song I've ever had on my channel. In other news, painting these freaking tiny little cannons. These are definitely light cannon because they're pretty small. But then again, this is not some kind of warship, really. It's just a sloop. Well, I mean, Mongolian throat singing. I like the band that does Yumi 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 or whatever, and yeah, those guys are cool. Those guys are cool. But when it comes to foreign music, none of you will be surprised to hear that I mostly listen to Russian music. Lube, Otavia, stuff like that. The Hue. Yeah. Yeah, Gangnam Style, which I heard a guy describing what the song is actually about. And apparently Gangnam, which is in that game I just showed you guys, is the really, really rich part of Seoul, Korea. And like everyone wants to live there, but you got to be really, really rich to live there. So, yeah, the whole song is just basically the guy being like, you know, I'm really rich. I live in Gangnam, because like if you live in other parts of the neighborhood, then you're not considered, you know, to be as cool as the ones that live in Gangnam. Because, yeah, that's the super wealthy neighborhood. David Lopan. Get out here. I know what that is, Bruce. You're not fooling anybody. David Lopan. I would think that you, of all people, would know the difficulties between a man and a woman, Mr. Burton. How rarely it works out. You know what I mean? That shit is awesome. One of the best movies ever made, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Another hill that I am gladly willing to fight to the death to defend my opinion. But Big Trouble in Little China is absolutely one of the best movies ever made. And I don't know if I could really seriously, like in real life, be friends with somebody who didn't like it. Because I would always be wondering what in the is wrong with them, you know? Like, how do you not like that movie? Obviously, something is very wrong with you, because that is one of the best movies ever. And if you're sitting there being like, damn, he's talking to me because I don't really like that movie, well, stop watching me and go rewatch that movie until you learn to love it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a good movie. So anyway, like 6-7 years ago, when I made all my videos, this is how I made them. Except what I used to do is I used to use the video sound recorder that's built into every laptop. And I would record myself on that. And then if I had to edit it, I would do a little editing and then I would upload it. For whatever reason, YouTube Studio does not let you just record a video to add to your channel. You have to do it live. And unfortunately, I'm not as good as Bill O'Reilly with that, you know? Like some dudes, when the stress hits, they can be like, F it, let's do it live. Did I give up on Restream? I'm just trying out a bunch of different things right now, Jose. Rumble Studio. Yeah, I need to do the Rumble thing. I usually upload all the videos I made on, like, when I was on StreamYard or whatever. I would upload those videos to my Rumble page too. I'm friends with the Angry Gamer over there, who used to be known as Holy Diver, but now he's the Angry Gamer. So I go over there and watch his battle reports. He does a lot of battle reports. And so if that's something you're into, go to Rumble, look up Angry Gamer, and you will see pike and shot battle reports using like the black powder rules. He's gotten into what was the Warhammer game, but it was like 10 mil. He's gotten big into that, whatever it was. And he's been painting up Bretonnians. War Master. And of course, he plays 40K and fantasy. I'm always trying to get him to try like Oathmark or something, but holy no. But he used to have some like Japanese supermodel. Like he would be talking about games, but he'd have a picture of some Japanese supermodel that, you know, I think he pisses some people off because he says things that are super true. And you know how it is. You know, a lot of people don't like truth. Like I think the reason he had the Japanese supermodel up was as kind of a, you know, well, I don't even know if she's a supermodel. She's just a Japanese chick. And it was kind of a, you know, if you're a woman, this is what you should look, you know, if possible. And she was like, I don't know, maybe 110-pound chick with, you know, a nice rack and everything like that. He's the one that invented the term backpack boy, Chad Thundercock. Oh man, he has a video about, because, you know, people are always doing these videos and they're like, how do we get more girls into gaming? And he did a counter video to that argument. And it was, to this day, I still sometimes watch it. It was so good, you know? And not only was it like so good, it was absolutely true. How do you get more women into gaming and role playing and whatever? You don't, because you don't own them and they're not slaves. And unfortunately, you can't use your Yakubian technology to force them to want to do it. And it just happens that 99% of women would rather go ride four-wheelers and party and hang out with Chad Thundercock than hang out in a stinky comic shop with you and Backpack Boy and the fat kid and, you know, all the other stereotypes, which they're stereotypes because they're true, you know. Like when you go to the comic shop and if there's 20 people there, one of them will always smell very strongly of cat piss. It's guaranteed, you know. And you'll have the guys that always carry their backpacks, and you'll have the one weirdo wearing a Pokemon hat that has the ears. After I watched his video, I was thinking to myself, if I was a woman, would I want any part of that? No. And I love my people. I mean, the nerds are my people. I used to hang out at that comic shop every weekend. I would show up just after they opened on a Saturday, and I would be there gaming until close, and sometimes until after close, because the manager at the time was really super cool with me and shit, and he would let me stay like in the store after close. And he and I would bullshit about army shit because he had been in the military and he had been in Desert Storm. And so me and him kind of had that connection, even though he had been in 82nd Airborne. And I was, they would say, a filthy, dirty leg. Well, that's another question, but that's not the big question. The big question is kind of like that, but it's not why would you want more girls in the game? It's why do you care if there are more girls in the game? I mean, if you've got a game out there, say 40K, you always got to mention 40K because it is the 100-pound gorilla in the room. Why would you go out of your way to make an effort to get women to play that game? If they wanted to play the game, they would. They would. It's not like there's a group of people standing at the hobby shop door, being like, oh, you're a woman, you can't play this game. That is simply not happening. And anybody who claims that that's happening, they're just full of shit, is what they are. They're full of shit. That's not happening. What's happening is most women are not interested in playing 40K because 40K is a super masculine, boy game about being all heroic and, killing all the monsters in the name of the emperor, unless, of course, you're playing a monster, and, dying to save humanity and blah, 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 like all the noble things. That's what 40K is about. It's kind of like when you run into a guy and he's like, there's no good guys in 40K. Those kind of guys I kind of want to smack in the head, because it's like, why are you so dumb? Beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is an undeniable fact that the Imperial forces are the good guys in 40K. You may disagree with how they're going about doing what they're doing, but the reality is they're the good guys. They're, are they doing like crazy ass shit because they want to survive? Yes. But, orcs you can't count as good or bad because they're just a force of nature. When D&D was in its early stages, it was awesome. I agree. Being an old grognard myself and living through the early 80s and getting those AD&D books. Well, first I got Moldvay Cook, and then I got the AD&D books. My mom bought them for me. Because as I tell you guys all the time, my mom was like super insistent that we read a lot. DCC is a good game. It's a good game. I ran it for a while. I said, yeah, this is a good game. But my players were all like, I don't like this game. I'm like, why? And they're like, well, and they didn't like the way magic worked. And they didn't like a couple of things like that. And I was like, well, if I stop doing that, then we're not playing DCC anymore, So an agreement was made and we started playing OSE Advanced. A Gronar, and that's how it's pronounced, Gronar, is a grumbler. In the Napoleonic War, the French soldiers that were like the oldest and had the most combat experience and everything, they were called the Grenard, because they were the grumblers, but they were also the badasses that had the most experience, in the battle and everything like that. Yeah. People who complain about THAC0, I'm always like a little bit like not trying to look down on them, but I guess I can't help it that I do, because it's like, dude, I don't think I'm the smartest guy on the planet by any means, even though, I mean, I am probably a super genius. Anyway, I figured out THAC0 when I was like 12, 13. So if 13-year-old hillbilly ass me could figure out THAC0, and you're a grown ass man and you can't figure it out, I'm kind of like, really? And And just to point out, guys, THAC0 was not a second edition thing. THAC0 was in first edition. A lot of people, for whatever reason, didn't know it, didn't understand, whatever. But if you look in the Dungeon Master's Guide for first edition, it clearly has THAC0 for every monster. So, or you just looked on your character sheet and saw what the number to hit armor class 0 was, and that was your THAC0. I mean, it wasn't even hard. It's like you look at the attack chart of your character and you write it down on the bottom of the character sheet, right? Or, the index card or whatever you're using. And then it's like, right? And then if the DM's like me, he's never going to tell you what the armor class of the monsters are anyway. So, you roll your die 20 and he tells you whether you hit or not. And that's how I run. I'm not making fun of anyone else for running different. I'm just saying you're wrong. Actually, I don't know if there's a wrong or right when it comes to running D&D. It just all depends on how you want to run it, I'm not going to go out on a limb and start talking shit like that. But yeah, I will definitely say that that's how I did. I never told the players what the armor class of a monster was. Still don't. When we play games that have armor class in them, which hasn't been for a while, I do not tell the players the armor class of the monster. They roll the die 20. I tell them if they hit. And that's basically what it is, And in the One Ring, to hit a monster, you've got to roll versus the monster's parry stat. I don't tell them. If they attack an orc and the orc's parry stat is like, I don't know, 16. I know what they got to roll, but they don't. And I think that's part of the I hate forgetting words. Like the Stone said, it's a drag getting old. Part of what it means to be a dungeon master in the truest state of the word, as in you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and you are a master at the game, right? A big part of it, in my opinion, and feel free to disagree if you want to be wrong, is all the stuff that you do behind the scenes that the players never know, right? Like, by not telling the players the armor class of a monster, it makes the monster more mysterious. And it amps up the tension. You describe an orc as, you see a big orc and he's wearing scale armor. He's got big shield. So if the player has mastered the player side of the game, they might be able to deduce that monster's armor class is probably 5. Of course, using THAC0, it would be like a 16 if we're using whatever, right? They may be able to deduce that, but they don't know it because you didn't tell them. For all they know, that particular orc could be an orc chief and he has some kind of magical ring of protection on or something, they don't know. And that's how you run, like there's nothing worse than like the DM. Well, there's a lot of things worse than, but this is my opinion. If you're playing D&D, right? And like you open up the door to the haunted gatehouse or some shit, and there's 6 orcs in there. and they jump for their weapons, and you've got weapons out. So, archers go first. So as the archer, you're like, I'm going to shoot at one of the orcs. And the DM says, okay, go ahead. His armor class is 6. I mean, some people might like that, but to me, I mean, you're adding numbers into the narrative. And I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like talking numbers, Like the only numbers that I think we talk really is damage. The players roll their damage and then they tell me, and then I describe what happens, whether the monster is injured or shrugs it off or whatever, I kind of narrate the battles so that, if you roll to hit, say, an orc and the orc has a shield, and then when you roll for damage, you roll a 1, I'll say something like, you take a swing at the orc, but he definitely blocks the blow with his shield, right? So the orc still takes a point of damage, but the player knows he barely hit, and the orc is not impressed with him. But yeah. And I will say this, and I've said this a lot of times. My favorite rule in every version of D&D is roll under attribute, see if you succeed. Right? And right now, some people are being like, but wait a minute, that's not in every version of D&D. Well, it is when I run it. Because you don't need half of the shit that you think you need. You don't need it. It's a waste of your time, right? If a player's trying to climb a tree to get away from a bear, you could tell them to roll a die 20, and if you have a copy of the character sheet in front of you, you don't even have to tell them for what attribute. And you could give it a penalty if you want, because there's a bear chasing them trying to eat them, and boom, done. But then again, like I said, I'm one of those guys that I play AD&D, but I damn sure keep the wilderness and the Dungeoneer survival guide handy. Yeah. People, the hit point thing, I get so aggravated when people start arguing about it, because it's like, look, it's abstract, leave it alone. Now, one of the things that 4th edition actually added to the game that I liked was the bloodied rule. I thought that was good. How when a character or a monster got below 50% hit points, they become bloodied. And for some monsters, that meant the monster could start doing like some special abilities and stuff, because it was bloodied and on its way out and was like going to be all like, screw it, whatever. So the bloodied rule, I would like, even if I'm not using numbers, if an orc has 6 hit points and a player hits it for 4, then I'm going to describe that orc as bloodied, in any version of D&D, I'm going to do that. And that's just a takeaway from 4th edition, which I ran for many, many years. And I think gets kind of a bad rap because it's their own fault, but the marketing was trash, and they should have led with 4E Essentials instead of the books they led with. because I have a feeling if they had led with like 4E essentials, like Heroes of the Fallen Lands or Heroes of the, whatever Empire or whatever like that, they probably 4E would probably have a much better reputation than it currently does. People wouldn't be all like 4E wasn't even D&D. If you're out there and you've ever played 4th edition, the essentials version with the little cream colored books, there was nothing wrong with that game. That was a good game. Absolutely, that was a good game. And most of the things that old school players like me hated about 4E essentials fixed. Big time, So sometimes I think it's unfair how 4E gets treated, mainly just because of essentials. But the problem with 4E essentials is it was too little too late, because too many people had went to Pathfinder. By the time they got essentials out, which I think could have competed with Pathfinder, it didn't matter because so many people were already playing Pathfinder and they're like, nah, I don't want to even try this game. Who cares, Whereas had they tried the game, they might have been like, damn, this game's way better than Pathfinder. Now, did it have ways you could take advantage of it? Yes, but they were cool. They were cool ways. Like if you were playing an assassin using the Heroes of the Fallen Kingdoms or whatever, depending on how you built your character, there was the possibility on a backstab that you could do around 70 points of damage at first level. Now, does that seem fair? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe they should have looked into that a little bit. But did it bother me? Nope. Didn't bother me a bit. As a matter of fact, when I was running Essentials, one of the players was like, I don't really know how to make a character. Can you just make a character? And I was like, what kind of character do you want? And he said, I want an assassin. And I made him that tweaked out assassin that, like normally he was just a good assassin, he was a decent fighter. He had a couple of weapons, whatever, he could do his fighting. But one time per game, if he got a backstab on you, no matter what the monster was, there was a good chance that it was going to be dead. And yeah, that didn't bother me a bit. I was like, all right, cool, But then again, guys, I've never worried about character balance when it comes to the players. You'll see a lot of dumbasses these days. They're like, it's not fair. The mage is more powerful than this, or the cleric's more powerful than that. And it's like, dude, you're on the same team. And you do different jobs. So calm your ass. You know what I mean? Stop being a bitch. Realize that if you're playing this character, your role is different than someone playing the other character. And if you're on a team fighting life or death situations, why wouldn't you want the other people on your team to be as badass as they can be? Right? That's just being mad that another player at the table has something better than you. That's just petty, The worst thing they can do to a role-playing game is try to balance it. And you'll notice that all of the TSR games that were based on Gygax's original game, which is all of them up until they sold the company, he don't worry about balance. Gary Gygax, Arneson, Kuntz, none of them. They didn't worry about balance. Balance was not a thing. No one gave a shit. It was like, The fighter's good at fighting, and he has the most hit points. The mage can cast all kinds of cool spells, but he's super weak, and if you don't get protected, he's going to die. The cleric is kind of in between, and he can do some healing and blah, 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 right? And the thief is probably going to die because the second you send him to check for traps, he's going to get ambushed and die. But whatever, right? Right? The point should never be wah, 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 my friend's character's better than mine. That's just so dumb. Yeah, 18th level wizards. If you're actually playing AD&D and you're not playing some kind of crazy version of the game where you're giving the players like, thousands and tens of thousands of XP every game, it would probably take 5 years for a character playing every week. It would probably take 5 years for a character to hit level 18. And he would be basically, that 18th level wizard would be the only 18th level wizard in the kingdom. Like no one else would be like that. He would probably be the most powerful wizard in the land, right? And by then, who knows? Is he even going to keep adventuring? Or is he going to open a mage school or become the king of his own realm? Or maybe use like planar shift or some shit and just go out, on some kind of weird, I'm going to go out and explore the freaking multiverse. I mean, any one of the things I just mentioned is 100% possible. MTG ruined D&D. They tried so hard to keep it separate, but I don't disagree with you, Squirrel. When they started releasing, like source books based on Magic the Gathering planes, I was all like just shaking my head because it was like, yep, nothing good will come from this. And you know what? Nothing good came from it. Now you've got characters playing freaking elephants and whatever, Of course, that's me being ignorant. I haven't actually looked at the game. So, I mean, it's entirely possible that I would like read the Ravnos book and be like, oh yeah, this is a shit right here. You know what I mean? Because I loved when the first Ravnos deck came out or set came out. I was like, oh my God. Right? White, black, Azov, Azov, I think. Not Azov. Starts like that though. That was what I played. White, black with the Ghost Council and all that shit. Man, make people cry. But so I would be interested to know if you can play, like, can I play a guy that's is there some special class for the inquisitors and whatever from that world, or is it just like, it doesn't really matter, because if it doesn't really matter, then that kind of sucks, that's kind of like, damn. But if they added those black white classes to the game, then I might actually be like, cool. Or the Campaign World, another great set. I don't know if they ever actually released this, but did they ever release a Dungeons and Dragons setting book for Innistrad. I mean, imagine that. Like, you're on the world of Innistrad and your whole thing is being a vampire hunter or some shit like that, you know? Because vampires rule everything. And, you know, everything sucks. And it's the vampire's fault. And the biggest family of vampires is ruled over by Edgar Markov and his bunch. Even though there's the Blood Queen as well. See, that kind of stuff I would dig if they like took the lore from Magic the Gathering and actually made a cool setting, but yeah, but Ravenloft now, modern Ravenloft is lame. Super lame. If you're going to play Ravenloft, get the original adventures or get the original box set. Don't buy anything that 5e or 5.5 or any of these new guys have done for Ravenloft because it is lame. Like the whole gothic horror part of it, just not even there, you know? Just not even there. And you can't call the one guys gypsies, which I will always call them gypsies, the Vistani, because apparently someone woke up one day and decided that gypsy was a bad word. So, and I'm all like, nah. You know, that's what they've been referred to. They even called themselves that. But yeah, the new Ravenloft is absolute trash. Absolutely. But the old one and the box set, that was cool. You know, that was cool stuff. And very easy to get killed. If you effed around, you were going to find out. Ravenloft actually holds a very special place in the hearts of a lot of D&D gamers because it was absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt the first adventure that really leaned into there being a story. Hey, how you doing, Dark Knight? Yeah, it really leaned into there being a story and backgrounds mattering and all kinds of stuff like that. And you know, the fact that the main monster was always moving around. I hope Elon buys Hasbro. I don't think he will, but then again, we are talking about Elon. So while I'm not super hopeful he'll buy it, you never know. And the fact of the matter is, he's got enough money to buy it. If he wants to buy it, he can buy it. I mean, the dude made $100 and something billion last month on some freaking tech startup bullshit he was doing. But I think he's going to be busy doing other things, honestly. I think he's going to be busy handling other things. And I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? As a longtime hardcore Elon fanboy, yeah, I'm good. I'm good with it. He can do his thing, you know. But like we were talking the other day, when does that dude ever sleep, right? It's like he does all the things he does. And on top of that, I mean, it's like, damn, dude, do you ever sleep? Which, from what I saw in an old documentary, it was like he sleeps 3 or 4 hours a day, usually at the office. Like he almost never leaves the office wherever he is. Yeah, he was. I saw in an interview he was talking about a universal income was just going to have to be a thing because eventually we will have robots that do everything, pretty much every single job. And at that point, either, I mean, what do you do? And Elon said that his belief is you're going to have a government universal income. And then if people want to go ahead and try to find other work, then, more power to them. But that's how you handle this next stage of our society's evolution, which, I mean, that's what Yang was talking about too. Oh, Yang from the Yang gang. But yeah. And it's like, I mean, if you think about, that's what they have to do in Star Trek. In the Star Trek universe, everyone in the Federation, it has to be on some sort of universal income thing because it's a post-scarcity free market civilization. And since you can literally just walk up to a machine and ask it for anything you want, it's kind of like, okay, how do you deal with that, And the option is everybody gets X amount of money every month, and good for them, I mean, and if you want extra money or fame or whatever, then obviously you pursue a career in some field where that's an option, like space travel. Maybe, I mean, that's why the people on the Enterprise are on the Enterprise. It's not because they're trying to make a bunch of money. It's because they don't want to sit on their asses, and they've decided they're going to do some other thing. And so they go through the academy, and then they go onto a spaceship and have adventures and whatever, But are they forced to? No. They can just sit at home in a perfectly, good house, watching TV, whatever in the hell they're doing. No worries in the world. We can't all open a Cajun restaurant in New Orleans like Cisco's old man, or was it Creole? New Orleans could be either or, No, we all can't, but the point is, if you really wanted to, you could. And if you didn't, you don't have to worry about it. And if you want to devote all of your time to playing D&D with your friends, well, okay. It'd be even more hardcore since, they got those little rooms, right? So literally going to a what's it to play D&D. That would be an issue, and I've seen that brought up as an issue in a lot of not role playing, fantasy games. The issue is if we develop an alternate reality that's really, really good, how do you stop people from becoming so addicted to it that they never leave it? You know? And I mean, Shadowrun, which I know a lot of you get it like, rah, Shadowrun. But Shadowrun actually had that as an issue. That was an issue that Shadowrun tried to talk about. And what it was BTLs. If you had a data chip installed into your head, you could install you could install these chips in, and the BTLs, that's short for better than life. And the people who use BTL chips would a lot of times get highly addicted to them, right? So you would maybe be walking through a slummy part of Tacoma or wherever you're at, and instead of crackheads sitting around being all like, you know, jonesing for their next fix, it would be guys jonesing for their next BTL, because the BTLs, of course, were made by the producers to, you use it the one time and then it burns itself out. So you couldn't just keep using it. And yeah, that's an issue too. I mean, it would be like the Matrix, except everyone in the Matrix wants to be in the Matrix, right? So there's no, it's like, you don't got to worry about trying to get them out because they don't want out. They are perfectly content being in the Matrix. Leave them alone, blah, 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 you know? And it's like, okay, I guess you end up with a society where robots and AI are like handling everything and maintaining the how you doing, Satya? And are handling like everything, the infrastructure and everything. And a lot of humans are just trapped in their own fantasy worlds. You know? What do you think? I mean, that could be an issue. By the way, I'm putting these Greeks with these aspis shields on round bases. And I'm probably going to, well, I'm definitely going to have to hit them with some dull coat, because these guys I dipped in Army Painter. So, I mean, for one thing, they're definitely, you don't got to worry about the paint coming off of them. But the other issue is that they're a little bit glossy, you know, a little bit glossy. You really don't want your you know, ancient hoplites to be all super glossy. Damn. Why am I having such a hard time with this? Maybe I need to stop drinking energy drinks. But I still got a glass full, so I don't want to waste it. I've never seen Ready Player One, but, you know, maybe. Strange Days had BTLs. And by the way, hello, Omanal. Thanks for dropping in. 50 years of imprisonment in 20 minutes. Yeah, right. But, I mean, Shadowrun at least covered that. And I believe original Cyberpunk covered it too. just the whole idea of people being addicted to other people's. Um, I don't know if you were buying other people's memories or if there was a person like in Blade Runner whose whole job was to sit and create like these awesome, better than life stories, you know, and then it's like almost like Total Recall, except instead going to a place and having doctors alter your memory, you're just jacking a memory directly into your brain on the side of the street, and it lasts, you know, for however long it lasts, and then now you come off of it and you're forced to deal with the real world, which for you sucks because you don't work or do anything to make anything, you know, better, and you know, you're scavenging around for some freaking yeast based ramen noodles or something, and robbing or begging for your next hit of BTL. Right. He does that exactly, you know. Well, I mean, yeah. Omanal, yes. I am also at the point to where I could do without a lot of the dystopian bullshit that's going on in real life. I kind of like the dystopian stuff to be in my role playing games. But hey, you know, this is the cross we bear for living in these times. And that's it. There's nothing more to say. I mean, there, you know, it's like everyone's seeking wisdom and no one ever stops to think, you know, maybe there is none. You know, maybe things are the way they are because that's the way they've been made. And your job is just to do as good as you can. That's your job. That is literally your purpose, to be as good as you can in a reality where it's really hard to be good. Oh yeah, I love Flash Gordon. Flash, ah, he'll save every one of us. Dun 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 dun. Right, just a man with a man's. I don't know what the next word was. Just a man. Right. It's so funny that the hero of Earth that goes to the kingdom of Ming the Merciless and fights and ends up defeating him is, well, in the original he was like some kind of triathlon guy or something like that, you know, but then in the movie he's a football player, and to me that's just hilarious, you know, like there, like he's not like an ex Green Beret, he's not like, you know, whatever. He is literally a football player. His superpower is he's very athletic. Yeah, in the '80s cartoon, they had the lion people and the snake people and all that. Like one thing, because I guess they didn't have the budget, when the Prince of Argentus or whatever gets killed by Ming, those were supposed to be the lion people. Um, you know, but they didn't have the budget to do up a bunch of people in lion costumes, so they just had a bunch of black dudes. play the roles, which is weird, but okay. You do you, you know. And of course, you've got, one of the most badass guys of all time in the movie. The guy who played Emperor Ming. I mean, everybody loves him. Max von Sydow, or however you say it. Even though, as much as I loved his acting as the Emperor Ming, my favorite acting job that he ever done was Conan. When he plays the king of Zamora. And he's like sitting there like talking to him after he's had him captured, arrested, and lions ate him. And he gives that whole speech. Why, do you know what you've done? Why, Rexor himself has come to me, the king, and he's doing the whole, thing. And it's like, he was just really good there. I really liked it. I was like, yep, that's badass. That's what that is. That's pure badassery, right? When he's giving them the gems and he's like, take all you want. There's more. More than you could ever spend in a lifetime. Enough to be kings yourselves. Just bring me my daughter back. Yeah, and he does the whole, there comes a time when the gold loses its luster and the gemstones lose their glitter, or whatever he says. And all that's left is a father's love for his child. And I thought that was just a really good addition to Stronovgo Stark. But yeah, I just thought that whole scene was a really good scene to add because it kind of threw a little bit of humanity in a movie that was otherwise just turning out to be a hack and slash movie. But Max Sydow, he brought it in. Hey, there's Bear. Hi, Bear. Hi there. Ho there. My friend from the Great White North. I hope you're doing okay, eh? But anyway, recording on YouTube, so apparently I can't invite people. But sorry about that. Probably going to end at 2 hours. But and I've been painting, like I just put the shade on my the deck of my sloop. Here is, of course, the whole sloop. I'm gonna have to paint those masts and then get sails, and you can see on the side I haven't painted them because I didn't want to close up any holes, but that's where the rigging goes. So yeah. But yeah, got the gang's all here. I tell you what. That's pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, who wouldn't love that, right? But yeah, Max Sydow and Conan is amazing. So amazing, in fact, that a lot of people don't even know it's him until you point it out. You're like, that's Max von Sydow, right? Like, really? Yeah. I don't know what they did to get him in this movie, but they freaking did it. You know what I mean? They definitely did it. They're like, hey, look, I don't know what we got to do, but we're willing to do it. Like, But my wife and I the other day were watching Christopher Lee vampire hammer horror films. Christopher Lee was Dracula, and Peter Cushing was like um, Dracula, who the guy who's always trying to kill Dracula. I forget his name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. And it was a good movie. I mean, it was a really good movie. We're just sitting there watching it, like thinking, yeah, that's a good movie, you know? But I mean, if you look into, and I've said this before, I know it's not game related, but the Hammer horror films, there's like hundreds of them. Van Helsing, indeed. There are hundreds of them. And you've got Christopher Lee in the majority of them playing Dracula. And then you've got Peter Cushing and just a lot of old school, really, really like famous actors playing various parts in the movies and stuff. And it's just like, wow, you know, back in the 60s and 70s, the British were not playing around. They were putting them movies out. I assume it's in Britain, but I mean, it was like they were putting a movie out a week or some shit. It was like Christopher Lee never actually got to sleep. He it was like he'd get the nap between movies. You know what I mean? He'd get like they'd be like go nap, and he'd get like an hour nap, and he'd be like, okay, it's time for you to be in Dracula and the Satanic cult of whatever. And then he'd do it, and then he'd get a nap, and then they'd be like, wake up. Christopher Lee's like, what? He said, it's time to be in Dracula and the Curse of the Blood Queen or some shit. And they were just cranking them out one after the other. And I'll tell you what, here's the sad thing. Those were low budget schlock movies, just meant to be entertaining and not actually whatever. And they are still better than most of the new movies that have been made since then. Monty Python style game. A bard named Eddie Van Helsing. That's actually really witty. I like that. But yeah, I'll stand by that. You've got these British guys with shit for budget, and they're just cranking out movie after movie, and the movies are like really good. And, like they're the kind of movies you actually want to watch as opposed to, some trash. And yeah, like when you talk about Dracula movies, of course you can say the old classic, right? Bela Lugosi. Yeah, you can always bring Bela Lugosi into the argument, and that's not a bad argument. But if you want to talk about just pure freaking playing Dracula for years, nonstop, in every movie, whatever, it's Christopher Lee, man, by a mile. That guy was in a lot of movies. Yeah, I'm going to. I promise you, Jose. I'm going to. Maybe after I get done working on these miniatures and stuff. But yeah. Like, okay, I might be getting ready to like not piss people off, but have people be like, no, you're totally wrong. But I'll take any of the Christopher Lee Hammer Dracula movies over Bram Stoker's Dracula by whoever the director was any day of the week. Any day of the week, twice on Sundays. That movie, and even though it did star our beloved Keanu Reeves, that movie, and also, look, it starred the one of the greatest actors of modern times, right? The guy who played Dracula. I always forget his name, but that dude is one of the best actors going. Like he can play anything. Like in one movie, he's a crazy industrialist named Zorg, that's making deals with the darkness or some shit. In the next movie, he's a coked out ATF agent or whatever he was. You know, in the next movie, he's a white Jamaican. Yeah, Sir Gary Oldman. I mean, that dude, his acting is beyond par. He can literally, you know, like you watch a Bruce Willis movie, you know you're watching Bruce Willis because Bruce Willis is just Bruce Willis in every movie. And there's a lot of people who are like that, you know. They're entertaining to watch. You want to watch them, but at the end of the day, I mean, Schwarzenegger. At the end of the day, you have to admit, if you're watching a Schwarzenegger movie, you're watching Arnold Schwarzenegger in a movie because that dude is not acting. You know, get to the chopper. Let's go. No, I'm not. What does your daddy do? You know, all that kind of stuff, right? But Gary Oldman, his range is just amazing, you know. Boondock Saints, yeah. Yeah, Ron Jeremy's still Ron Jeremy, and he got exactly what he deserved in that movie, too. Sorry if that offends anybody, but you know. Yep. But yeah, like Gary Oldman's just good in everything, but that Dracula movie that he was in through no fault of his own is just not as good as like Christopher Lee Hammer horror. That's, you know, well, you know, some people, I've been on Twitter too much, Derpson. That's what's going on. It's like, if you're on Twitter, it's like if you say the slightest thing that someone might agree with, just all hell breaks out, you know. Is it White Boy Day? Yeah, right. Oh man, True Romance. When what's his name gives the speech, which I will not repeat, but what's his name's giving that speech to Christopher Walken. And I mean, I remember the first time I watched that just being shocked. You know, I was just sitting there like, what in the F is going on here? And yeah, you know, okay. That's how we're doing. All right. Brad Pitt was in the movie as Elvis, who only showed up as a hallucination for what's his name, Christopher whatever. I mean, you know what though, Anderson? I don't know if it's prayer or whatever, but Christian Slater, who in my opinion his best movie was probably Heathers. But anyway, I am not unhappy with my life at all. I mean, I'm too old to be back on the job at this point. So, you know, I'm starting to get to where I'm no longer like constantly being like upset that I'm not on the job. I'm realizing I'd be retired by now, even if I hadn't got injured. So it's like, you know, just kind of kick back, build some miniatures, get rid of a lot of shit. I'm going to, like I always tell you guys, I'm going to be doing some downsizing and I'm going to get rid of a lot of shit, a lot of stuff because I've been like not paying attention. And that's a big problem when you have like, you know, a good 3D printer. If you don't pay attention to what you're doing, you can easily end up with like 1,000 miniatures just all over the place. You know, it's just the way it is. Yeah, I'm not a fan. See, luckily my heart is really good. So I'll just try to avoid that heart attack stuff. Have you been talking about the Clintons? No. Bill and Hillary Clinton, to my knowledge, have never done anything wrong ever in the history of ever. They were amazing politicians, and I want to go on record as saying that, and I'm not suicidal. Yeah, that's the same thing here, Jose, is because of the 3D printer. If I don't pay attention, plus I buy, some box of miniatures from somewhere, the combination of those things has caused me to just flood everything. So yeah, I'm going to have to. Well, when Hungar comes down, maybe I'll give him a bunch of stuff. That's how I got rid of a bunch of stuff last time. Hungar came down and we just went out in the garage and I gave him like a 3-foot stack tall. The stack of role-playing books I gave him was like 3 feet tall. So. I think Christopher Lee might have met Tolkien, and I know there was a lot of rumors of Christopher Lee being involved with the occult. But in his final speech to that college in Ireland, he told them, don't get involved in that shit. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe he knew what he was talking about. But yeah, one of the students brought up like the supposed collection of occult books that he owned, and he was like totally like against it. He's like, whatever you do, do not do that. It's dangerous and blah, blah, blah. So, Christopher Lee's definitely in my top 5 humans of all time, I think. Or at least top 10. I mean, and I'm counting Jesus in that, because it's kind of a given as a Christian, Jesus got to be number 1, right? Human beings, because he was holy man and holy God. But you get what I'm saying, right? Without getting into the metaphysics of it, Jesus is number 1. And I'd say Alexander the Great is definitely a number 2. And then I don't know who would be number 3. Maybe, St. Nicholas. I'm a huge fan of St. Nicholas of Cappadocia, the one that smacked Arius for talking shit. He's a good one. Patton's got to be in the top 50. If we're doing top 50, Patton's in there. Definitely. Longstreet, Lee, Grant, Leonidas, what's his name? Hemistocles or whatever, the guy, the Navy guy. He's got to be in there. Matthew might be my number 3 because of all the Gospels. I've always been a huge fan. Where am I in that ranking? I'd be like 100. If we're ranking the top 50 best human beings, I would rank me at 100. Plato, he's going to be in there, but Aristotle's going to beat him. You already know that. Marcus Aurelius has got to be top 10. I mean, the warrior poet or philosopher, the warrior philosopher, right? Not best generals, but Rommel would be there. The problem was, though, as the movie says, Patton's like, I read your book, you son of a bitch, or some shit like that. You magnificent son of a bitch, or whatever you called him. Well, General Jesus is actually possible, but it would probably be General Jesus, and it would probably be somewhere in South America. So that is something that actually could be a thing. I used to work with a guy named Jesus, and I always called him Joe. Svatoslav the Brave. Yeah, you got, of course, you got to have Vladimir the Great of the Kievan Rus. He's the guy who introduced Christianity to all of Russia. So that guy's on the list. But then George Washington, absolute badass. He's got to be on the list. Thomas Jefferson, who helped create our nation, and I wish we would listen to what he wrote better. Yeah, there's just so many great humans, aren't there? I mean, if you want to go through history, the guy who created Guinness, or are you talking? No, the Alec Guinness is the actor, Alec Guinness. So I'm assuming Arthur Guinness is the guy who created the drink. Yeah, they created that drink specifically to serve to the poor Irish workers for lunch. And that's why Guinness is so freaking full of carbs and everything. You know how it is. You down a Guinness or a pint or two of Guinness and like your belly's like, ugh. It's like you just ate a 3-course meal, you know? Now of the 9 hostages, united the kings of Ireland under a high king. Awesome. How many of the founding fathers are you fond of? That is an interesting question. I mean, my number one favorite founding father of all time is Thomas Jefferson. And anyone who's been on this channel or listened to any of my videos knows that. I am a huge fan of Thomas Jefferson, always have been, always will be. TJ is the man. Number 2 after TJ, I gotta say, would have to be George Washington. Just because of, you know, George Washington was like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of that time period. He's an absolute badass, you know. It's unfortunate that he had his flaws. He was a womanizer. And that's what killed him, jumping naked out of the 2nd floor of his neighbor's wife's bedroom and running through the snow, which gave him pneumonia and he died. But I've never been a fan of Hamilton. And also, I'm not a huge fan of, I think it was Madison, whichever one of them that was always arguing with Jefferson about federalism and shit like that. I mean, I'm thankful for all of them. Well, Thomas Paine, yeah. But I'm thankful for all of them. But some of them I would actually want to hang out with, and others I would not. Because I don't feel like we would agree politically on anything, you know? Like, and I think Madison and Hamilton are definitely those two. Because, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the federalist bullshit. Ethan Allen. Wasn't that like a furniture store or something? I don't know. You got me confused. Yeah, Hamilton, who got shot by one of Thomas Jefferson's friends. Aaron Burr, I believe, was his name. Because Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson just could not agree on state rights versus federal powers. And yeah, it ended up with Hamilton getting shot. Furniture store, but also a guerrilla fighter during the Revolution. There you go. I mean, Daniel Boone, he's the guy that crossed the Cumberland Gap and basically opened up Kentucky for settlement. So he's a great guy. Like one time, some Indians from Tennessee kidnapped his daughter, Jemima. That was her name, Jemima. And another girl. And Daniel Boone grabbed his musket and his big freaking knife. And he went out after them. And they gave those women back and made a promise never to take them again. So I'm not 100% sure what he did. But whatever it was, it caused a tribe of warrior type Native Indians to be like, no, we don't want to fuck with this guy. You know what I mean? You know, and think about it. Daniel Boone, who was a big guy. He's like 6'4", big old guy, right? But one big old guy versus a whole tribe of Indians, and he punks them out. Yep. Wyatt Earp. Well, you know what? The thing about the Wyatt Earp thing is I've been corrupted by the movie. So I've got to pick Doc Holliday. Just because Val Kilmer was so good as Doc Holliday. But, you know, that has no bearing on anything other than, you know, Val Kilmer was really good. Like, what's his name? The guy from he had been in Terminator. He played the crazy guy when he's trying to fight. Freaking Doc Holliday stands up and he's like, I'm your Huckleberry. You know, I mean, everything that Val Kilmer did in that movie was amazing. Plus, he was a cheater because when he walked out on the street talking shit to starts with an R, Ringo, he already had a pistol behind his back. So, I mean, you know, I play for blood. And he's like, that's just my game. You know, and I ain't got a problem with you, Doc. Right? I mean, but you know, the Old West, there were so many badasses in the Old West. Michael Biehn. Now, Anderson, are you trolling me? Is that the leader of that family of cannibals in freaking Scotland? Or are you talking about the actor who was in Blackadder? If you're talking about the actor who was in Blackadder, then yeah, that guy's hilarious. If you're talking about the Biehn family who hid in a cave and ate people in Scotland back in the 1700s or whatever, then I mean, that's a good troll, I guess. But that guy was definitely not a good guy. You know what I mean? Him and his inbred family. That's what they based the Hills Have Eyes on, was that family. Because apparently that's how effed up they were. You know what I mean? Hiding out in a cave, killing and eating people. And apparently they attacked a guy and his newlywed wife. And somehow the man got away and rode to the nearest town and told them what was up. And they all came back and handled that business. Didn't know this was for a grade. Well, everything's for a grade. Everything you do, someone is judging you. And never forget, Anderson, the best thing you can be in life is competent at your job or whatever you want to do. Competence is the best thing. Now I'm going to show you guys this. This is, I still need to do the railing and everything in like a light oak. But yeah, this is where we are right now. Of course, the back's not on. I'm going to probably glue the cannons down. They are currently finished finally. So here's, you know, one of the cannons. I don't know if they'll focus in, but basically simple brown with a wash and dark silver for the barrel with a wash. The other thing I'm getting ready to do is put some dull coat on these freaking Greek hoplites because the army painter just made them glossy as hell. And yeah, I don't need that. I don't need all that glossiness. And I'll tell you what, if Hungar and I, if we play an Ancients game of Saga, between the Persians I've painted, the hoplites that I have, that, I mean, I've got like maybe 100 hoplites painted. And then my Macedonians, we could have one hell of a battle. I'm telling you. And we'll try to And we'll try to actually film it, you know. I'll have to remember how I used to film it. I know a long, long time ago, I had like a Kodak camera and it could record like 30 minutes worth of something because it had like a little chip in it. So I would record me talking to the camera. And then when I was done, I would download from the camera to the computer by hooking them together with like a USB. So maybe we'll do something like that and record a couple of live plays. I really want to get a game of Saga in, but I know Hungar is super stoked to play Blood and Plunder. So, but they're going to be down for a couple of weeks. So if we can't get at least 2 or 3 games in a couple of weeks, then I mean, what are we doing with our lives, right? Anyway, it's been about 2 hours, 10 minutes. Marcus Agrippa. How about Scipio Africanus? I mean, he's got to be in the list too, right? Scipio Africanus. Yeah. But I'm going to close this down. It's going to be added to the thing. So anybody who came in late, if you want to hear the earlier stuff, it was just me talking about painting this ship, which I am having a glorious time painting. Vercingetorix, yep. And even though I was wrong, you only get 1 per box. For $39, this thing is still a really good deal. A really good deal. And I'm really happy with it, which is, I guess, what matters. I'm very pleased with it. I can't wait to get the cells on it and all the rigging on it. It's going to be badass. Plus, it's multi-use because if I wanted to use this in a D&D game, I mean, I guess I wouldn't have cannons unless cannons were in the D&D game, but you know, you could use it in a multitude of games is, I guess, what I'm saying. If she's easy, take her twice. Yeah, just don't marry her. I've learned from that. But anyway, peace and love, guys. Thanks for dropping in, hanging out, everybody who visited and this and that. And yeah, I'll catch you later when I figure out how to actually make videos that I can put on my channel again. So